quickly now, the story that we've been telling you for several weeks here on CNN, more about piracy happening in the Gulf of Aden. We just saw an incredible report by our international correspondent, Nick Robertson. Also want to take a moment now to bring on the commander of the U.S. Fifth Fleet. Vice Admiral Bill Gortney is on the line with me now to talk more about this. Admiral Gortney, if we could, talk to us about the current situation right now. We've been speaking for quite some time about what a vast area this is and how difficult it is to get to these pirates.
Well, yes, ma'am. It's an international problem that demands an international solution. The scope of the problem is fairly extensive. Just the maritime piece of it is over 1.1 million square miles. But if we want to counter the piracy, we need to work on there's four interrelated elements. One is international naval protection at sea. That's the navies of the world. It's improved defensive efforts by the shipping industry, and it's international legal framework for resolving the piracy cases. If we take a pirate, how do we adjudicate them? And finally, removing the safe haven in Somalia. And we're not going to be successful unless we address all four of those elements in harmony. None will be successful by itself.
Yeah, and so that's the trick, obviously, and as we've witnessed, because this obviously continues to happen. How do you work together with the rest of the world, the rest of the navies on this?
Well, we right now we have an average of about 14 coalition and non-coalition warships that are patrolling the 1.1 million square miles. That's clearly inadequate given the time. If we were just going to control the single shipping lane north of Somalia, it would take over 61 ships to do that. But we're working with coordinating our efforts to be the most effective in that. We're also working with the shipping industry, identifying the best practices using lookouts, speed, maneuver, and some non-kinetic measures. And they're turning out to be the most important and effective measure out there to deter or to make an attack unsuccessful.
Yeah, and talk to me a little bit, if you could, about the priority that this is being given, because clearly we still have two wars going on, and I know that there is quite a bit of contingency planning by way of the Navy and where the ships are positioned with regard to Iraq and Afghanistan. Where does this particular problem fit in?
Well, I would say it fits in pretty high globally, because since we established the Maritime Security Patrol Area back on 22 August, when it was just our coalition ships and the nations of the coalition that were out here to also fight OIF and OEF, since then, we have been joined by many nations to include Russia, India, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, South Korea will probably be sending a vessel. These are all nations. NATO has come with a maritime force and has been out here for the last couple of months working World Food Program escort and piracy efforts. The EU is coming with a flotilla of ships here in the middle of the month. So I see this very high just because of the international response from the nations of the world sending their navies to assist in this problem.
Certainly, and obviously, I guess one of the things that people are concerned about, if you fast forward and if the problem isn't deterred, is what happens if, in fact, we see cruise ships or luxury liners that are ultimately attacked. We've seen it once.
We have. The bigger cruise ships, though, operate at a speed and have a height above the water that the pirates aren't going to make a successful attack on. We find the slower vessels and ones with what we call low freeboard are the ones that the pirates have shifted their tactics to pirate, and those are the ones that are at the highest risk.
Well, we certainly do appreciate your time and wish you all the success in the Gulf of Aden that we possibly can here. Vice Admiral Bill Gortney, he's the commander of the U.S. Fifth Fleet. Thanks again for your time. Hired to protect in